Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Monday, the 22nd of May. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined this morning, fresh from Easter Road yesterday, Joshua Barry. How are we doing, Joshua?
Good, Derek. Yeah, good trip through to Edinburgh yesterday. Thought Rangers were good. Felt as a bit of an end-of-season feel to it, but Hibs obviously were still fighting for European spots. I think a very different game to the last time Rangers went through and played there, but I think encouraging for different reasons. And another good performance with what was a really, really limited squad. Michael Beale said after reeled off the players that were missing, and it was almost a strong enough 11 to face the one that played yesterday.
Yeah, we'll get into the detail of the victory over in Leith in a moment, folks. Just a quick word. First of all, for the offer we've got on the website, if you're watching us on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter, you can see the ticker below. We've got that tremendous yearly subscription offer on just now, where it's just £12 for an entire year's worth of content. Not only that, you'll be entered into a draw for that lunch for 3 people at the Blue Sky Lounge restaurant at Ibrox on the 3rd of June. With a club legend, no less, as well. It's a cracking offer. Head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe to sign up. We also have a 4 months for £4 offer as well, if you want to take that one out. Either way, both deals are tremendous. So make sure you've signed up to be in with a chance of, like I say, wining and dining with a club legend at the Blue Sky Lounge restaurant at the beginning of next month. Right, like you say, Joshua, you were at Easter Road yesterday. Rangers, another victory under Michael Beale. James Tavernier with a free kick. I've seen varying opposing views on whether it was a wonderfully struck and great invention from the captain, or whether David Marshall covered himself in glory. I think it was a bit of both, to be honest. Yanis Hadji, fantastic to see him getting on the score sheet after his injury troubles, and we'll speak about him in a bit of detail shortly as well. And Todd Cantwell getting in on the act, firing home from close range after an initial parry from the Hibs goalkeeper. Hibs did score a late consolation in injury time. Paul Haaland getting a goal back for Lee Johnson's side. But any win over there is welcome, you've got to say, Joshua.
Yeah, and Rangers have had a pretty good record at Easter Road. I think the first thing to say, Derek, is that it was a very different game. You look back at and before the Old Firm win last weekend, the 2 best performances under Michael Beale had been both games in Edinburgh. Hearts 3-0, Hibs 4-1. I think the 4-1 Hibs performance was better. But those performances, I think, were all foundationed on the fact that Rangers had space. They had, their narrow attacking forwards. You think of Sakala and Cholak and how effective they were at Easter Road before, where it was Kent Morelos and Sakala at Tynecastle at the end of January. And, there's emphasis on the home team, especially when it's Hearts and Hibs, their home crowd expecting to attack the game and not just sit off, which gives Rangers certain opportunities. And yesterday wasn't like that. Hibs looked to attack mainly down the left when they had an opportunity on the counter-attack, and then they had Cadenet on the right wing up against Ridvan, with Josh Campbell joining him and Kevin Nisbet in the box. And they if you look at their approach off the ball compared to what they did at the start of February, it was really different. They were trying to control space, stop Rangers playing through the middle. But Rangers, I thought, adapted pretty well to that, whether that be Todd Cantwell moving wide to win the free kick, which is a free kick for the first goal. I don't think there's much controversy about that, and there's more interesting things to analyse in the game than that. And then you look at the second goal as well. It comes from Rangers finding the far side of the pitch, playing over the top. And I think the most encouraging aspect from a Rangers point of view is how they adapted to that different type of game. We've already seen, I think, throughout Michael Beale's tenure, how the kind of fluidity of the front three, but that player behind the strikers in particular, and yesterday it was Todd Cantwell, when he was off the ball, he was pressing on the right-hand side, but he was picking up the ball on the left. And I think that makes Rangers so hard to deal with, because although you can block the middle of the pitch and give up the wide zones, ultimately Rangers were able to eventually make use of them. And they had to be patient. They were really down to the bare bones squad-wise, just Fashion Sakala up top. But I thought actually had a pretty good game with his back to goal. He wasn't very wasteful, and managed to turn the defence points as well. And Hadji, we can come on to speak to him about him at some point, but a really nice moment. Overall, though, a different way to win for Rangers, and I think that's encouraging that when they've faced these different problems, when they face two very different types of games at Easter Road, they can be equally comfortable in both with a really threadbare squad yesterday.
Yeah, before we talk about Hadji, I want to discuss John Souttar and, of course, the disappointing news that prior to kick-off, Joshua, we knew that Connor Goldson was a doubt for the game. We didn't really realise how long he's going to be out for. 10 weeks, the manager said, which is not ideal, is it? There's a fact, of course, that he's going to be playing catch-up. If my maths isn't great, but he's going to be coming back, what's that, 10 week, two and a half months away. So he's going to be playing catch-up to the rest of the squad. You'd imagine he's going to miss the Champions League qualifiers, which is a huge blow. John Souttar, of course, came in. Andrew Gill says Souttar is better than Goldson, and World's Greatest DJ says Souttar was outstanding yesterday. John Souttar for you, Joshua, and how big a blow is losing Goldson for that length of time?
Yeah, losing Goldson is a huge blow, and you've seen that this season. I think it's taken Goldson time to win over criticism that wasn't warranted for a long period of time. Souttar equally I thought he was fantastic yesterday. Won, I think it was 20 of his 23 duels. Whether the ball was going in behind him, whether he was coming into feet with Kevin Nisbet, nothing was getting past him. And I think you're seeing what he can do when he's fully up to speed. Because that's been a while. You think back to the opening day of the season against Livingston, he clearly wasn't fully fit then, and you could see it in his performance. But when Rangers do have him fully fit, and they hope that he's got over the kind of worst of his injury troubles that have been so difficult for him over a number of years, you see what a good defender he is. And I thought he just did everything right in the game yesterday, whether it be his distribution, which was excellent, the pace that he moves the ball with, his ability to turn. Yuan on the left is a good player, gave Tavernier a few difficult moments, but whenever he got one-on-one with Souttar was winning that battle. And he also made a number of blocks. And if there's one way to, I think, win yourself over to fans, it's throwing your body in front of the ball in the penalty box. So he did a lot right, absolutely. Losing Goldson is a huge blow, especially if you think it might be a bit touch and go for the Champions League qualifiers. What you would say about Goldson is he tends to be back quicker. I think you can, especially if you look at the injury he suffered against Liverpool and how he managed to get back a bit quicker for that when Michael Beale arrived at the club. The fact that you got Souttar there and Leon King, who I thought was, again, didn't really put a foot wrong yesterday.
Good to see him at the weekend,
it was his first performance in 6 months, maybe first start in 6 months. I think it's his first start actually under Michael Beale. So I thought altogether, again, another new back four with the goalkeeper. Really comfortable display by Souttar.
Yeah, it certainly was. And it's an interesting point. Rangers on Tour says, what I loved about Souttar yesterday was that he won everything in the air. He put in tackles and stopped that cross ball that catches it out as Souttar puts his body on the line. Yes, certainly is. It's extremely frustrating, and it sums up Rangers' season that Connor Goldson's now going to be out again. I don't think he's been injured at all apart from this season since he's been at Rangers. So it just sums up this campaign. But it's good to have John Souttar back fit and firing, as Ian Thompson says as well. John Souttar was great. Can we cytogenically freeze him until the next match? He is one, of course, he has had these injury problems we all know about, but touch wood, he can steer clear of them from here on, and especially with those huge games coming up on the horizon. Other players to talk about, and there's lots of comments coming in here. Well, first of all, Unca Dave says, good morning, evening all from Cucamonga Valley. Hope you have a great day. Let us know where that is, Dave. It seems exotic nonetheless, but it's good to have your company here on a Monday morning or a Monday evening, wherever you're watching and listening to us. Let's talk Yanis Hadji, Joshua, because as I touched on, great to see him. First, it's great to see him back in a Rangers jersey, of course. He has been, we have heard from him recently where he talked about that the struggles have been coming back from injury and then trying to get up to match sharpness when all the players were ahead of him fitness-wise. That goal meant a lot to him yesterday. He spoke about it on Rangers TV. He says, how much did that, well, he was asked how much did that goal mean to you? He says, a lot, 30 seconds with the guys down there. I tried to grab someone and hold my emotions together, but I just couldn't. In those 30 seconds, the last 16 months flashed in front of my eyes, and it took me so long to get back to scoring goals. I'm happy to do this. It's another challenge, and I have more ahead of me. I'm really grateful I'm at this football club, and I can still play considering the big injury. Comment coming in here. Just John says, we discussed about Haji's celebration. I think he made everyone watching him emotional. What do you make of it, Joshua, and Haji's performance overall? In bigger picture, I know there has been some murmurings that perhaps Rangers should look to move him on, as that position is quite heavily congested. Your thoughts on that as well come the summertime?
Yeah, I still think that judging Haji's performance is going to take him these type of games to get back to anything resembling his best. I don't think he'd say he's at anywhere near his best yet, and understandably so. In the first half, Beale said he was a bit slow to release the ball at points, and I thought that was fair. There was a couple of occasions where he lost the ball at the edge of the Hibs penalty box, but as well as that, there was just a couple of times where he got the ball through the lines and he wasn't quite as quick as you'd like to turn and play the ball. But he kept going, and the goal was a great moment because you not only saw how much it meant to Haji, but you saw how much it meant to all his teammates as well, and how popular a member he is of the dressing room. He's been through such a difficult time. You know, we interviewed him for the website, and he's a really positive guy who managed to, I guess, see some good in it and learnt a new language and studied a lot of football. But it's obviously still difficult because it's taken away from you what you do as a footballer for so long as well. You know, 16 months from when he was back scoring that goal against, or 15 months against Aberdeen at the end of January in 2022. That's a long time. So you'd imagine that Beale will want to give him more game time over the remainder of the season to try and get up to match sharpness. He obviously signed that contract when Beale arrived, which you'd imagine in part was to protect value as well. But I thought he grew into the game, and that goal was a good finish. It's a reminder as well that Haji is the type of player that did in the title-winning season bring you quite important numbers at important points in games. You think of the win over Hibs in that season, at Ibrox or St Johnstone, both 1-0 games that he managed to get the goal in. So yeah, a really nice moment for him, and I think that kind of killed the game from that point as well. Rangers had to be patient and had to try and break Hibs down, but when they got those two moments, I think the game was effectively done by that point.
Yeah, it certainly was. Right, let's get to so many comments coming. I'm doing my best to try and keep an eye on things. First of all, Jim McCrory seems to be on holiday every other week. He says, good morning, lads, from sunny Lanzarote. Absolutely delighted for Haji yesterday. Absolutely, Jim. Hopefully you're having a good time over there. And thanks to Mac18, that place that we mentioned there. It's in California. So fantastic stuff. Matt Weir says, morning guys, great start to Monday listening to Rangers Review working from home. I'm delighted for Haji. Pre-season will be massive for him. Wonder who the player being unveiled on Wednesday. Yeah, this is little tidbits from Michael Beale, of course, that we heard after the game. We'll touch on that shortly, Joshua, but there is lots of comments coming in with regards to Robbie McCrory. People not too impressed by his performance yesterday. Stephen Park says, we certainly learned we need a new goalkeeper, guys. Maka says, morning, guys. I thought Robbie was less assured yesterday, especially with the high balls in the box. Hopefully just a blip, but we need another strong keeper in. And a point here from CGM55, McCrory was very flappy McFlapperson yesterday. What do you make of Robbie's performance yesterday, Joshua? Of course, that clean sheet record is no more. Unfortunate to lose that goal in stoppage time, of course. Wasn't as assured as what he normally is. I think Rangers are still going to be looking to bring in another goalkeeper. But were you slightly concerned by his performance yesterday?
I think McCrory is probably one of his strongest points is being aggressive off the line in a sweeping action, as well as what we saw last week in the Old Firm, which was claiming crosses at points as well. Yesterday, there just seemed to be more pressure in the box. There was a couple of moments where there was that one where Hibs put it just by the post in the second half, and he wasn't able to kind of come and dominate in the same way. I don't think you learn anything new per se, because, you know, as you said, you knew that Rangers were going to bring in a goalkeeper anyway. I think McCrory's shown himself to be good enough to compete for that jersey, perhaps not yet ready to be the undisputed number one. But you're right, he almost gets another clean sheet, and if not for kind of poor marking or a poor corner set up at the end, and a lot of subs had been made by that point, so you have to kind of mitigate it with that. He definitely wasn't as commanding, but I think McCrory's biggest strength, and that's why his game against Celtic was so effective, is his speed off the line when the ball's coming to his feet, and his ability to kind of protect the defence in that way. And he had a couple of shaky moments, yes, equally not far away from a clean sheet. So maybe not too much, don't learn too much new, Derek, but still only his 5th game as well for Rangers, so you've got to remember that.
Yeah, most definitely. But there was talk over the weekend that Jack Butland, according to reports, prefers a move to Rangers and regular football as opposed to just sitting taking more money as he would do if he signed for Manchester United. Watch this space with regards to that one. Certainly Rangers are still looking to bring in another goalkeeper. But I think Robbie, for me, is promoted to number 2 next season. I think that has to be the case. John McLaughlin, I think you wouldn't be surprised if he headed off for pastures. I know he's entering his final year of his deal. One of a number of players in the summer, but wouldn't be surprised if he was to move on. Let's talk Todd Cantwell, because Finn Fogel has just gave him the highest possible praise here. Joshua, he says, forget everything else and let's talk about how good Todd Cantwell is. The new Gaza. I think slightly
high bar.
yeah. Just a tad, but there's no doubt about it. This boy is absolute quality, Joshua. I enjoy watching him play every single time he pulls on a Rangers jersey. He's got the personality to boot as well. Everyone loves him. Cannot wait to see him next season with a pre-season behind him, playing with quality players round about him. He's been a breath of fresh air since he arrived from Norwich, hasn't he?
Yeah. The phrase I keep coming back to is he's kind of Rangers, you know, the protagonist or the main character, however you want to put it. I think he is very much epitomising Beale's Rangers. He's the one who is, alongside others, the on-pitch leader. And he enjoys that, and you need that. You look at the game yesterday, Derek, and obviously wins the foul for the first goal, and there were some handbags at different points in the game.
Yeah.
But he's a player that thrives off that, and you need to thrive off the kind of being antagonised at points. I think when you play for Rangers, but reveling in that and allowing your quality to show, and that's what has happened. Cantwell, whenever he loses the ball or if he doesn't play a pass correctly, there just doesn't seem to be an equal about him in how he plays, because he works so hard, and then that allows him to, when he gets into these certain moments, to kind of have that gravitas and show his quality. Obviously you need to do it for a longer period of time, but what you would say is, having come into the club in January and what was not an easy season at all, he's very quickly become a leader. And Beale, speaking in his press conference yesterday, said as much. I can't remember the exact quote, but I think it was effectively he's being a leader for this side. And what I loved about his performance yesterday, and I think this fits in so well as to why he came to Rangers, because he's given the freedom to go and impact the game how he sees fit. So, you know, Rangers have real set structure and elements of how they play. And yesterday, I think a lot of the game was about stretching the pitch and trying to make use of the outside when Hibs were defending the inside so rigidly. But if you look at the positions that Cantwell picks up, and we'll have a piece looking at this later on the website, at times in the first half, he's getting the ball off the centre-backs. At times, he's right close to the striker. He's pressing off the right, then he's picking the ball up off the left. And I think if you look at Beale's Rangers, one of the big positives you've got to say is that you can only prepare to face them so much, because you don't know what exact type of situation you're going to be facing, because of that flexibility of the players in the final third. And for someone like Cantwell, that suits him perfectly, because it gives him the license to go and run the game. He's obviously got the game intelligence to go and do that. And yesterday was a perfect example of that. Again, matched with everything we know about him, his off-ball work, his ability to take the ball deep or take it off the striker. And then when you do see his technical quality in moments, Derek, I think it's so much higher than the majority of people he's playing around, that he is going to be able to get those numbers, because he scored already 5 or 6 goals, and you know, he hadn't scored a lot of goals before coming back up the road. He's also played deeper in the pitch for probably half the games he's played so far for Rangers. So you're going to struggle to get players that are of a better quality to Cantwell in the summer. But I think when you build a better functioning team and you've got a pre-season under your belt, you think how many more levels can this guy go up? And that's obviously a very exciting prospect.
Yeah, just on Cantwell, lots of comments coming in. Derek Gray says, keeps going like this, he won't be here long. And that's echoed by John Dooley says, you think they'll be able to hold on to Todd? EPL clubs must be watching his performances. They will be. Listen, he was highly rated down south before he joined Rangers. Of course, he went off the rails a little bit, but he was tipped for big money moves when he was coming through there at Carroll Road. Listen, £100 million, if any EPL clubs are watching, and we'll talk maybe. That'll get you around the table.
And I think James Bisgrove alluded to this on his in his media duties on Friday. The Rangers do have to obviously sell players, and that's the Nico Raskin arrived at 21. He's not going to be at Rangers for 10 years. It's just not how it works. You've got to have a successful player trading model. But if Cantwell is to come up here, and I think you can see already that he's bought into it fully, and he has not played for a club this big, and he loves that. You see the way he celebrates, you see the way that he kind of works the crowd, and you see how much the crowd love him already.
Yeah.
By no means is he, I think, using this as a stepping stone in the short term. I'm sure that, at 25, he has aspirations of going and playing in the Premier League his peak years and continuing that trajectory, easy for me to say, that he was on earlier in his career. But that's what you want. That works for both parties, because then one day Rangers will make a really good profit out of him. And the money that they've paid for him in January, I think, already looks like an absolutely fantastic deal, Derek.
Yeah, just on that relationship with the fans, an interesting point raised by Scott Patterson. He says, one highlight with Cantwell is he interacted with the fans with his dance after his goal. When was the last time this happened from players? Just my opinion. That's what I like about it. And you touched on it there, Joshua. He gets the fans get him. It's a match made in heaven, really. So long may that continue. Although Aldo says, I'd like to see the Cantwell heat map, Josh.
That's everywhere. Yeah. He is. That's the, and it's the same with Raskin. I thought Raskin was, before he got injured yesterday, so effective, because what he allows you to do, although you're playing Jack and Lundstrom was making a lot of those runs behind the fullback to create space, and Jack was taking the ball off the centre backs a lot. Raskin has just got such good recovery pace, whether it be he kind of lulls opponents into thinking they have more space than they've got, and then he's on them as quick as anything, or just when he has to make up ground. I don't think there's many wingers that are going to be able to outsprint him over distance. So he put on his Instagram, I believe, last night that he's fine. So no panic about that, given he had to come off. I think it was before the hour mark. But yeah, he's maybe doing a more kind of under the radar type of role. But equally, whether he's played a little bit higher at the number 8, whether he's played deeper, taking the ball off the centre backs and being the deepest midfielder as the number 6, you see with these two profiled players that Beale brought in January, Cantwell and Raskin, they don't just do one thing. And not only does that give the manager more options, it makes it unpredictable for the opposition. And I think that's what you need over the course of the season to be successful.
Yeah, right, let's get on to that transfer tease from the manager. Paul McGurran says, right, lads, spill the beans here. Who's Michael Beale alluding to about signing Tillman, maybe? This was, he was asked after the game, BBC Scotland, he was quoted, the window doesn't open just yet, so we can't announce anything, but when it opens, we'll be ready to announce one or two. One might be announced on Wednesday at Ibrox, so there's another reason for people to maybe come along and see us in midweek. My transfer window probably starts the first week in July, and maybe there will be a couple of bits after that. I'm happy with where things are at. He then added there will be one or two players, whether they start or come on in the game, will be around it on Wednesday. It's right they get the chance to say farewell to the fans. We'll make a statement on Tuesday on that, just so the fans are aware and there's real clarity. Some people in our squad have been unbelievable for Rangers between 2018 and now 2023 and everything that's gone in between. And it's right they get the send-off they deserve. Interesting points there from the manager. Now, we are aware, of course, Kieran Dowell is pretty much done. It may be he that is unveiled to the fans. I'm not entirely sure it'll be Malik Tillman, Josh. I think I would be surprised if that is the case. Dujon Sterling is another one we believe is pretty much done as well. I would wager it would be one of those two. Could it be someone else, perhaps?
Well, you obviously the championship season is done. Apart from who's it? Is it Luton and Coventry in the?
Yeah, that's going to be a brilliant final, by the way.
Final for whoever gets up there. Would love to see Luton Stadium in the Premier League. So maybe logic tells you it'll be one of the names mentioned. on the send off is, I think that's an important part for a lot of these players that will be leaving, or it looks like they'll be leaving. You look at someone like Glenn Kamara, who hasn't really been involved since February. You look back at that European run last season, he was a big player in that, the title win the season before, and Morelos, everyone knows what he's done over his time here. So there is, I think, a feeling with a number of players that they just stayed a little bit too long to have a send-off when they were at their peak. But for a number, I'm sure it'll be right that they do get that kind of last bit of adulation at Ibrox, Alan McGregor as well. And as Beale said, that statement on Tuesday will kind of, I think, will really be the start of showing how much change is going to occur. Ryan Jack, obviously, I think since we last spoke, has signed a contract. I think that's a fair decision. His injury record can be held against him, but as Beale said, I think it was 85% of the games he's been available for. If he manages minutes, he can be such an effective contributor over the course of the season. Obviously, the homegrown quota comes into it as well. I think that's an extension that makes sense. I don't think many people would look and point at Ryan Jack as the problem for many things, especially given that availability that Beale references. So, we'll be expecting at Ibrox on Wednesday night, not only to see who's going and those farewells, but see who might be turning up for next season as well.
Yeah, it will be interesting to hear from the manager tomorrow when he looks ahead to that game on Wednesday. Just another bit from the game yesterday, Josh. This is an interesting point. Finn Fogel says, ended the game with 6 academy players on the park, and McCrory, King, Lowry, Ewer, McCausland and Lyle. That was good to see, isn't it? We were speaking at length, I think, last week about the academy. And about players obviously coming through and playing for the senior side, and just how difficult it is at Rangers. But it was great to see these young lads on the park at the end of the game.
Yeah, and I think the kind of criticism that there should be more academy players, there's not enough. It's what are you benchmarking that against? It's such an easy thing to say, but you do look at the likes of King and McCrory, Patterson, Lowry, and I think there has been a pretty steady flow over the last number of years, and you'd imagine that more will be coming with the likes of Rice and obviously Lovelace. Both of whom were signed, obviously, to come to the club, but still 16 and 17, still being developed into their kind of senior football career at Rangers. But good to see. Lyle is someone that I thought was really impressive, actually, in the 3-3 Glasgow Cup final a couple of weeks ago. Good to see him get his chance in the midfield. And Lowry, someone you'd hope would be a big part of things next season. Again, Liam King, I thought he didn't put a foot wrong yesterday. Alex Lowry, you just want to see that a little bit more of in the first team because he's such an intelligent football player. And again, when you think of him and Cantwell and the types of players that can play in that system under Beale, it feels custom made for them. So hopefully, you've been waiting for 18 months for him to really kick on. I think it was almost a year ago exactly. He'd have scored that goal at Hearts there. I remember he was on the left and he cut inside and just kind of passed it into the far side of the net. And if you'd said then, by this time next season, he'd have only made 1-2 league starts, that would have been seen as a frustrating the reality to what this season has been. And the injuries we've discussed it many times, but as Beale said yesterday, the worst that he can remember in the history of him being at the club. So Lowry is someone that you'd hope to see a little bit more of next season, and a full pre-season under Beale shouldn't hurt that at all. Yeah,
I'm conscious of time, so there's a couple of things I just wanted to get your views on, Josh, before we wrap up. The Player of the Year awards were yesterday, of course, at the Hilton in Glasgow. James Tavernier mopping up pretty much, named Players Player of the Year and also Player of the Year. Malik Tillman named Young Player of the Year. Antonio Cholak with Goal of the Year. There's a bit of, I think that was for the PSV goal, if I'm not mistaken.
Presumably the home game.
Yeah, presumably the home game, yeah. And a lovely touch as well, Jimmy Bell being given the John Gregg award as well for his Lifetime Achievement Award to the club, which was a nice touch from Rangers, marking the late great kitman Jimmy Bell. So that was nice to see. James Tavernier, though, scooping the Player of the Year. I said in my piece last week that I thought Malik Tillman might just edge it from the captain, but I can see why he's been awarded it. Borna obviously missing out. Would that have been your pick, Joshua?
Probably not. Obviously it's over the course of the season, it's been a terrible season for Rangers, hasn't it? But
Yeah.
I think you've got to look at...
Saying that, I mean, the points total, I was saying this during the week, I think they're on for their highest points total aside from the 55 season, but I guess it doesn't mean anything if you're second in Scotland, unfortunately.
Exactly. But that is a good point, obviously, mitigation, but you obviously look at the games at Hampden as well. And after that semi-final defeat, I think it was always going to be hard for Rangers to build any type of momentum going into the new season. But I think Beale, if you look at the job he's done since November, has definitely justified that type of buy-in and excitement that when he gets his players, he merits that opportunity. Given the consistency that Rangers have picked up results, even if they've just fallen the wrong side of the margins. But to go over old ground, if you look at those games without the finishers, and the Rangers haven't had in the final third, I think they're always going to be difficult to win. I don't think you can put much blame on the manager for, especially the game at Parkhead and the Scottish Cup semi-final as well. Tavernier, pretty slow start to the season. It would be fair to say with a Champions League campaign that was one to forget for everyone, but he steps up in big moments. I think he leads by example on the pitch, and he's got remarkably consistent numbers. Another moment yesterday where he finds the top corner, and as you said at the top of the show, Derek, how many times have we seen that? And Tillman, definitely deservedly Young Player of the Year as well. I thought he was in with a good shout of Player of the Year. Not the type of award ceremony that Rangers would have wanted to have. Equally, I think now there will be that quiet confidence that Beale can get it right. And games like yesterday, again, with the limitations of the squad that he had without so many players in there, he'll be hoping to fight on a better footing next season. And I guess all eyes are towards that. This time next week, the season will be over.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, commiserations, of course, to the women's team who lost in the league title yesterday. Caroline says, sorry the girls didn't win the league yesterday. Glasgow City prevailing, beating Rangers and winning the title. So well done to them. And finally, I just wanted to wrap up. This is something I've seen on social media this morning. Ali Quinn says, it was a beautiful thing seeing Graham Souness talking about helping a little girl. I'm sorry I don't know her name or the horrible illness that puts football into perspective. Yeah, absolutely. It was great to see Graham Souness is going to be swimming the Channel, which is absolutely incredible, raising funds. I'm not entirely sure the name of the disease, but it's absolutely horrific. So if you can donate to Graham doing that, then please do so. It was I was even welling up myself seeing him getting all emotional on BBC Breakfast this morning. So best of luck to Graham raising swimming the Channel and raising funds for a really good cause as well. Okay, folks, that'll do us there. Thank you, everyone, for interacting with the show. As ever, big thanks to Joshua as well. We'll be back again tomorrow, but until then, enjoy the rest of your Monday. Bye for now.